Fellow programmers. I am Aryan, a third year Bennett University student pursuing computer science engineering. Today I would like to share my internship experience at UST Software India with you all. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Ashok Sinha for providing me this opportunity, even in these trying circumstances, so that I can own my skills and know what it is like to work in a real organization. It was a very fun, fruitful, and learning experience. So I was working as a machine learning intern along with equally passionate and determined colleagues of mine at my university. We were a team of four and were assigned a task to build a sentiment analysis model that can fetch data from any social media platform, in our case it was Twitter, and then identify the sentiments of the tweets that were obtained. And the topic of interest could be anything. In our case, it was coronavirus since it is a pretty much talked about topic these days. So, what is this sentiment analysis that I have been talking about? Well, sentiment analysis is a technique that enables us to, capture some text data and then try to identify what sentiment it represents, either whether it is neutral, negative, or positive, whether it is representing a positive emotion, a negative emotion, or a neutral emotion. The techniques can be further extended to identify sadness, happiness, or any other of those emotions. But here we worked only with these standard three ones. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. So now before you develop a solution to a problem, you must have some kind of motivation, right? I mean, why are we doing what we are doing? So in order to answer that question of why sentiment analysis, I would like to pose a couple of scenarios. Suppose I announce a product X in the market and it belongs to a pretty well to do brand. It is bound to get attention. Obviously, it is going to be talked about even before its release. There will be plethoras of hashtags and whatnot discussing features, things audience liked, and what they did. Now, obviously, since it has not been launched and sold yet, there isn't going to be any review or whatsoever for the product. So, how do we gather that feedback and work on it to make some feasible changes before launch so that it gets the best reception possible? Yes, we do sentiment analysis on social media data. Similarly, another example of political campaigns. For example, a huge part of Twitter conversation revolves around news and politics. That makes it an excellent place to measure public opinion, especially during election campaigns. We can get to know about what the public thinks about your particular party, what their ideas are, what their opinions are, and what they expect from you. Twitter sentiment analysis can provide interesting insights on how people feel about a specific candidate or a specific party. So these were those couple of scenarios in which analysis can be leveraged to the best capacity possible. Now I would like to discuss our approach. In our earlier and first approach, we used text blob for all the pre-processing, etc. Now we discarded that approach in favor of a second approach which was more feasible, which utilized MongoDB for storing the data, Vader for pre-processing, and Dash for visualizing the data. Now, obviously, when you start with a project, you are going to encounter a lot of problems. So, while we were fetching tweets, we found out that the location data that is present in the tweets is not good enough, as most of the tweets do not contain any location information, let alone exact coordinates. In the below image, you can see how many tweets actually have this data. Like out of 11,700 tweets, only 35 tweets were inserted with location. So that is not satisfactory and would not be used, uh, would not help us in any way. So instead of that, we looked for an alternative. The approach followed here involved looking at the location of user instead of the actual tweet. This results in a much larger number of eligible tweets. The line of code used in the stream is given below. The issue here is now that many users do not provide actual country name but use it as a description box. You can see example in the screenshot given on the side. Like here, a person has put their age and their gender instead of the correct location. And the other locations like Milky Way, Cat's Heart on a plane do not literally make any sense. Now, after fetching the data and doing what we wanted to, the next job was to filter the entries. To filter out the entries which are not locations, a module called PyCountry was used. After making a list of all the country names, these include the 2 and 3 letter codes for each country as in the location box. Like for USA, you would have United States of America, USA, US, and for India, you would have India, IN or IND. We had to make sure that all of these represent same location or same country. So we clean up the locations given in the above picture using NLTK and then check if the text includes any country or its code. If it does, we insert the tweet into its corresponding location. In the picture, you can see the logic for getting the location information using alpha 2 and alpha 3 values, and finally using only one identifier for one country. Now, here in the background, you can see a database kind of thing. You can see the collection is named is having multiple countries, and the database is named after the topic which we have selected for inserting the tweets. The document inside each collection is the tweet. This is what the database looks like for tracking query coronavirus. Now each country is getting its own collection. Now coming to the sentiment analysis part, we simply iterated through all the collections, did all the work, and utilized Vader to do the work for us. It was very quick, and all the collections and documents were processed very quickly using this Vader model. Then we used Dash module to create a dashboard, which basically translate a plot into something that goes into a dashboard. So I would like to begin with demonstration now. So this is our front end for fetching tweets. As you can see, there is an option to get streaming tweets, to get retweets, track and store them, fetch and store them, and it's a pretty comprehensive layout. Now, after fetching those tweets, storing them in a database, and doing pre-processing and all that, we can actually visualize whatever information we have gained so far. So, for example, I would like to select a topic, coronavirus COVID. For this, you can see there are number of countries on x-axis, and on y-axis you can see how many negative, neutral, or positive tweets are there that belong to that particular country. And if you want to, you can disable negative, neutral, and positive tweets, and you can choose any combination of these, and you can select a different topic, like for example disease coronavirus. Now it has less number of countries. Some countries do not have any tweets, and that's why they don't have any bars. Now we have also plotted it as a globe. Like you can rotate this globe by clicking and dragging around, and you can actually hover over any country. For example, I'll hover over India, and you can see the country code, the number of tweets, and the country name, and obviously the sentiment score. Similarly for Pakistan or any other country that you want to obtain information for. So that's it guys. Thanks for watching. Happy coding.